Governance is something that has to be on your agenda all the time. Guidance from me, sharing from you, and learning from each other. Governance is not about reading the book, it's about doing the do. This is all about you walking out of the room with some tips on you can be better at governance.
We really wanted to cover governance as a subject area. I know we've got a variety of different perspectives in the room today. We've got people who are on boards, we've got people who are chief execs, we've got people who are investing and funding social enterprises who want to look at good governance. I'm really grateful that we've got Eileen Hoyle, a real expert on this area.
Every charity that's ever been set up in honesty has been set up to plug a gap in an existing provision. And the thing that they have in common is passion. And so if people are together because they have a passion, if you go and you say, well, I want to give you 60 pages on all the different governance structures before you go any further, that is a passion killer. Governance in Wales is the same as governance in the rest of the UK, is the same as governance in most countries of the world. It's about making sure the people who have the privilege to oversee the workings of a voluntary organisation have the skills to do it. I think it's an interesting place for us to start looking at these issues. It was R for risk, F for failure, and then there's the S structure, the structure of a social enterprise.
Direction, not management.
Thank you. Setting strategic direction, my favourite one. You can get the structure right, you can get the passion right, but if you haven't got the right people on the board, and getting the right people on the board at the beginning doesn't mean you've still got the right people on the board in 10 years. So the first little exercise I'm going to get you to do is on each table, just scribble on a piece of paper what you think the responsibilities of the board are.
Do it by themselves.
You mean get educated?
Well, no, they'll become charities.
In our experience, we've gone through the board meeting. I don't know how many of you in this room find it hard to recruit trustees.
I personally feel that going to the meetings is the least important part of being a board member. Make sure your board is equipped to support your developing strategic plan into the future. Make sure that you provide them with learning in a context which makes them want to learn more and want to stay on the board. And I think that if there's one thing that you leave with at the end of today, it's that governance isn't something you do the month before your annual report has to be written for the Charity Commission or whatever. Governance is something that has to be on your agenda all the time. And I believe every board meeting should have a governance item. What's the difference between governance and management? Has anybody ever had this as an issue? It's one of the chronic problems. Where does governance end? Where does management begin? And my favourite bit that goes in the middle is leadership. Everyone came wanting their own governance issues solved, and in a relatively short session, all you can do is hope to address some of them and acknowledge that it's not a science, it's an art. It's not necessarily going to be that you can get a solution just like that. We need to have a re-evaluation of where we're going and how we're looking for people to join our board. And in my view, it shouldn't be based on who knows the organisation, whose friend is on the board, but what skills we're looking for. And I do believe that anybody who has meetings that go on for more than 2 hours has got it wrong. Comments? Shock? Shock? Because if you've done the right work in your committee meetings, between the board meetings, then you don't have to go over it all again.
You've got a mix between getting people with huge amounts of skills, but they've got to be available to you.
Let's not be downhearted here. This can work. We know it's hard work.
Coming to KAIS and hearing about KAIS Social Enterprise, you imagine they're doing everything right, but I think the fact that Clive had mentioned that he was chair and chief executive had straight away sort of put us at ease.
Clive gave a live example of trying to bring a charitable initiative to a social enterprise to fruition.
Because of the difficulty in finding the right people and because of the huge proliferation of different types of organisations, this consortium group type approach might offer a few solutions for you.
The not-for-profit is a term that I really dislike. It's for profit, but it's doing good things with that profit.
With Matt, I thought it was very, very good in terms of looking at focusing on loans rather than grants.
Matt was saying, right, it's all well enough you having this sort of approach, but let me show you what you need if you actually want to succeed in generating a bit of income for your organisation.
That is the future, isn't it? Going towards that sort of funding.
Matt's bit was, I guess, just added further weight to the fact that governance is pretty key if you're looking at setting up or running a social enterprise.
So identify 2 problems and come up with some solutions. Listening to what each group had to say when they'd identified the problems they had and feeling reassured that there's an enormous commonality between the problems that people have, but I learned some different approaches to the solutions, and as I like to learn, that was great for me. We have to give more status to being on a board, and I don't know how to make it happen. But I've had so much fun on boards and seeing boards grow and develop and seeing organisations grow and develop. I think the key themes are that governance has to go on forever. You can't only think about governance when you set your organisation up. That my preferred approach to that is to have a governance item on every board meeting, to have discussions about governance, reviewing the Board of Trustees, making sure that the Board of Trustees will meet the plans of the organisation in the next 3 to 5 years, to have a turnover of trustees. Just because your term of office comes to an end doesn't mean you get voted back on, and to make governance fun. I guess that's the highlight. Make it enjoyable and people will want to stay on your board. Anybody who came hoping I was going to make it really easy and show you how easy governance is isn't sitting in the right room. But I hope that we've covered some of the issues. Anyway, thank you, it's been fun. Okay. Thank you. Attention to governance goes on forever, and if you fail to attend to looking at aspects of governance, your organisation can take a dive without you really realising it. So keep governance on the agenda, and it's a friend, it's there to support you.
I think it was a very useful session. When you get in a crowd of people, you share problems, and the problem's halved.
Really good mix, and it was great to see people from as far away as Wrexham and Anglesey.
We need to work together, so that sort of networking opportunity is great.
Social enterprise is all about doing the right things socially, but also enterprise, by the name, is all about taking risks. I thought Eileen was great. I think she assessed what we wanted to talk about and what the issues were out there.
Got people discussing issues, didn't she? So that's mainly what the presenter needs to do, I think.
And I think everybody's gone away having learned an awful lot.
The informal feedback I've had from people as I've wandered through the room has been that loads of people have energy that's come from learning a few new things that they can apply.
If any organisation hasn't come along to a mentor, Iontach Nua Masterclass, they've missed something.
What I would say to everybody is get along, because they're sort of aimed at everybody within the social enterprise world, not just the very experienced, but also the very inexperienced as well. So please take advantage of it. Yes, it's been very good.